What's going on, everybody? This man Smart here. I want to thank you guys for coming through. All right. So we're gonna talk about the government shutdown. And as you know, the gender warriors who have taken over the space, they can't talk about politics, right? Because if you simply chose a side from the first beginning, there's no way that you'll be supporting any of this. This happened from the first beginning when he came in with the tariffs. Then we had Liberation Day on the 4th of April. Then, once he got the news of the economic turmoil, he fired the person and wanted someone else to present that news to him. Correct? So now we're at the point to where we're sending ICE agents for a simple police action rappelling from Black Hawk helicopters in Chicago. What's going on? What's going on, to go?
Hey, what's going on, MOT, man? What's good, man? Man, this is the doozy right here. But yeah, not a lot of the people really going to really kind of get into this. But there is some partisanship here. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party are at some odds. A lot of this also is not only over the tariffs, but of course is over the big beautiful bill, as you're
Yes.
saying, and and cutting funding from Medicaid
Yes.
and all and all the other things that these guys are cutting, but yet giving these big tax breaks to the ultra rich.
Yes.
And can the Democrats, are they going to sit here and really turn the spigot back on and help to fund this bill that goes against many of their own constituents and so forth? So you've got a real problem here, and you have some big issues as well with the Republicans in many of their districts. But they're trying to sit this one out. But this is a creation of what Trump and his crew created, and this is what you have, and he's not able to play this thing right at this point. So
All right. So let's go over the history
there's a lot going
of
on.
these. Let's go over the history of the modern era of government shutdowns. Now, the continuing resolution from the government was clearly done when Bush was in office because he was spending all this money on the Iraq War. It was never a thing, period.
Right.
Okay, so now Barack Obama is in office, right? And every year, about this time of year, all 8 years of his presidency, we went through this. It was always the people who never wanted to pay for anything, these so-called capitalists, right? These individuals who want to take, who's hell bent on taking all the money home, outsourcing as many jobs that they can, using the actual system to build their actual business, SBA loans and whatnot. And then they turn around and they fire all the people and they get rid of all of them, right? Just shout out to
Correct.
people coming through. Ronald Song, Cedric Webb, Shonda, LOM, HCS 316, Diamante Harry. All right. So the problem is that we elected the party of tax cuts and non-functional government to run the government, the House and the Senate. They have the majority. They didn't cheat, or at least we don't know that they have at this point. These are the people who went to the government specifically to shut it down. We're running the government through executive orders, which has never been done in American history. I mean, I know FDR did a lot of executive orders, but he never tried to run the entire country through executive orders and turning up the actual volume on the culture war for the lizard brain people out there to cover for the actual failures of the actual administration. That has never been done before either. But this is currently where we're at. So while you have most people here who is hell bent on keeping things the same, not really changing anything, not really improving anything, and definitely not getting their stuff together. These people just came here to shut down progress.
Oh, that's a fact.
Yeah, that's what they
That,
wanted to do.
that's an unmitigated fact. And when we start looking at some of this other stuff that's going on, and we look at the government shutdown, and we look at, you really trying to knock out the Affordable Care Act and
Yeah,
all of this. I mean, this is something that the Democrats and some others are going to stand up. Are going to stand up against. And
yeah, but somebody's already trying to save money, quote unquote, by firing all these people from the government. Why
yeah,
would JD Vance lie that this is about providing health care to immigrants when this shit is clearly about tax cuts and giving tax breaks to billionaires that don't need them?
it's insane. I've heard some people say this is like a large scheme, almost money laundering scheme.
It is. It is.
This is actually crazy. But Vance, what he has to do is confuse you and throw this thing off. So a lot of folks don't see this thing for what it is. And the average, many of these American people, especially those who, were kind of running around on the right and the far right, did they're not supposed to make sense out of this, and
Yes.
just say go blindly along with what these guys are doing, even though it is definitely to most of their total detriments. And many of them are in these more rural areas and so forth, and red states and so forth that have large budget issues with their states already. You're looking at something that's going to really help to decimate many of these people, and they definitely don't want people awake to that.
No, and you have like the pro-black appetizers,
Oh my gosh.
who
Oh my
lead people around about by their deliberate misunderstanding of the actual political process itself. And that's a failure of an actual person. Like no one wakes up this ignorant about the process. That ignorant is pretty damn innate based on the actual environment that you actually come from. Especially if you live in the South, especially if you live in these rural areas where you have no hope of expectation of things changing. And I
god.
agree with that. I agree with that. I do agree with that. But they found other ways to gut it by cutting quote unquote Medicaid
Yeah,
from rural areas in red states, not really rural area in blue states, because they're covered by other programs if that actually is getting rid of.
yeah. They have other means. They have other means of funding it. And remember, they have a lot more money. The red states tend to run at deficits,
Oh
and
yeah,
and and,
huge.
and they get subsidized by the blue states, and there are about 10 big blue states in which that do this. Um, so that's kind of what you're really looking at, and that's why it's going to a lot of people saying, oh, I don't, we're helping we're helping to help out lazy welfare recipients and blacks
Crazy.
and and, and immigrants. And I mean, this they swallow this culture war stuff really massively to their detriment. They don't even see what's coming down the pike, and how your hospitals that are in these rural areas. are going to be shut down, and that money for that is going into the pockets of billionaires who collectively together or ultimately become trillionaires all together. I mean, it's
And they
unbelievable.
can't spend the money that they got. I mean, there's only so many super yachts that you can buy, right? There's only so much of any of that stuff you can buy. There's only so much. Okay, it comes to the point to where China is too high of a labor force for them. Vietnam, too high of a labor force for them,
Unreal.
right? And it's like these people don't even understand what's going on, Quiz of Prince. What's going on, Rat? They don't even understand that your labor, you should not be believing or taking seriously anything that comes out of the mouth of somebody that's a capitalist. If you think capitalists give a damn about their environment, go watch Shark Tank. Those are capitalists. They don't give a damn about nothing but profit. Nothing but. They don't care about that. And here's the thing. They show respect to every other person in the world to where they go to, but they don't show respect to anything here. Why? Because the free speech thing. Dude, you go running your mouth about the government in other places, they'll kick your ass out of there. They'll stop you from doing business there. They'll nationalize your product. They will steal your product like China does, right?
That's exactly right.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly right.
Remember, the government is always broke when it comes to time to do things for people. The government is never broke enough to not do tax cuts.
Or fund some type of military excursion
Oh yeah.
wherever for whatever reason.
Always
Um,
got the money for that. Always.
always has the money for that. They'll always come up with that left, right, and center. That's never an issue. But these other issues, as far as helping, looking at helping to take care of people, you're cutting into not only Medicaid, you're cutting into Medicare, you're cutting into these social safety nets that really keep this country going because let's admit it, and Moti knows with Medicaid, Medicare, and so forth, there's a certain level of profitability in that as well.
Yeah.
But they're going to cut that and give those to trillionaires. I mean, if you could make sense out of this, it's please somebody make sense out of this for me.
But this is currently where we are because it is a highly incentivized job within this country to be an ass kissing capitalist. It is a highly incentivized job to be a culture warrior. It is a highly incentivized job to keep people arguing with each other. It's a highly incentivized job to be in the media asking dumbass questions that you don't need to be asking. It's a highly incentivized job to be a conservative. Not to live around conservatism. They would never do that. They live in these liberal areas with all the millions of dollars that they actually make. But pushing conservatism is a very profitable thing, incredibly profitable thing. The destruction of the United States from the inside out is an incredibly profitable thing. People going from corporate America to heading parts of government that they want to destroy for their actual industry is an incredibly profitable thing. You can't get past that.
It's incredibly profitable.
So at this point, the only thing that's going to make these people see it is when things are not there. Now, you have to understand that when these government programs came into place, you had liberal Republicans who was part of the actual government. You had statesmen who actually reached across the aisle, like for real, to create these actual programs and all that. Those days are long gone. Long gone. So those people are long gone. And now we have a bunch of sycophants who are just paid to destroy American life from the inside out while waving Chinese American flags while they're doing it. And also, at this point, that everybody is a conservative all of a sudden. Nobody was a conservative during Hurricane Katrina. Nobody was a conservative at the end of George Bush's presidency. People became a conservative whenever that dude came down that escalator. That's when everybody became a conservative. That's why everybody just started worried about immigration all of a sudden. Like this immigration problem haven't been here for a while. If you wanted to do something about the immigration system, the Democrats always opted and pushed the I-9 system. The I-9 system, which means that everybody who comes to be employed in any shape, form, or fashion in your actual business has to go through the I-9 verification Social Security system. Correct? But the party of unlimited profits, the party that doesn't want to raise the minimum wage, is the actual party that didn't even support that. But now they want to come in with the federal government to clean up these quote unquote immigrants that they allowed to be over here for cheap labor. Unbelievable.
That's their business model.
Yes, Shonda, you are absolutely correct. The ER stay open will be flooded with non emergency issues as well when these people lose or can't afford insurance. They use the ER as primary care. Yeah. And these people who have these urgent care centers, these very small ones in these rural areas, they're about to have an extremely bad wake up call when these things start to disappear. These dock in the box places, they're going to really start to disappear once the 2026 comes.
And people know that this is going to hollow out, literally, that's, that middle America area. That's going to hollow it out.
Yes.
It's going to hollow that out in some very key states that are all red. It's going to hollow these people out. And some people, voting against their interests, I understand why some people do it because they have been conditioned to do so. You know, these people have been conditioned to go against their own interests because they say that, immigrants and blacks and others are taking advantage of the system and they're not going to pay to support this. And they're willing, and some of these people are willing to die over this madness. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's madness, but yet, this is exactly what's actually going on. And some people have written some books over it. And I've read one or two just recently, and just to hear about some of what's going on and some of the thought processes here and how the um, right wing has taken advantage of that mindset and really have kept to really push and really have pushed that even heavier has really put them in a very, very, very dire situation. And like you said, MOT, they're not gonna know it till they feel it.
And it's time for them to feel it. That's what time it actually is. It is time for these people to feel the pain of not having your farm being subsidized by USAID. It is time for you to feel that.
We're seeing some of these people in Arkansas, Dakotas, and some of these other areas right now who are definitely starting to feel some of what is coming down, and it's not a very pretty picture. Um, it's not a pretty picture. That's correct, BA. They're already crying uncle. That's for sure, and it's not a pretty picture. It's 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 a tough one, and Medicare is cutting telehealth for services under
Yeah.
certain medical conditions. This is insanity, and especially when you're looking at the white community, which is a older community,
Yes, it is.
which is an older community.
Baby boomer, rich community.
You're looking at the average age, pretty much, of most of white America overall is somewhere around the age of 56 years of age. That's an older community. That's an older community. And so it's going to be hitting a lot of those folks pretty hard. And no one's looking at the numbers or looking at how that demographic, is going to be adversely affected. But this is the game that's being played. And, the real information is not being put out there. So, what MOT is saying is right. Some people, when they start to feel it, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, but you have the media act like it can't do its job. Like you had JD Vance come out here straight up lying about what the actual shutdown is about. It's like you guys wanted to shut down the government every single year since Obama was in office. It's just that now you have the House and the Senate and the presidency in no sense, and no media, and nobody to check you, and you can just come around and say whatever you want to. It's just like Laura Loomer. She didn't even wait for the actual investigation for the shootings these weekends for these two white dominant society by number vets. Yeah, she said it was a Muslim who did it and just ran with it. Nobody asked her to resign or apologize or anything. But if you were to do something on the other side, you immediately have to go. I mean, what we're witnessing is a far worse iteration of what went on during the Bush administration. When it comes to the media deliberately not doing their job because they're trying to survive themselves.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I find it kind of shocking that we keep hearing this butthurt blue comment from the Indiana Ignat, man.
Yeah, he wants to call people old fools and all that, but explain to me this. If one is such a fool, how smart is it to support and go for, because we're talking about interests here. We're not talking about common interests. Someone who has a fairly serious condition, literally almost a congenital, if you will, and has to get a certain level, a certain type of treatment on a regular consistent basis. Now, the policies that are coming out of this party are there to shut a lot of that down and to reduce it. So really, what they're trying to do, and Shonda and some of the other healthcare professionals in here can definitely attest to, these programs are going to help to get you out of here, to send you out of here, get you out of here early, because they want so many people to be sent out of here early. This is
Oh yeah,
designed to get you out of here. And you're supporting those policies that are there to get you out of here, but yet you're calling someone else a fool or an old fool,
yeah,
and you're going against your own interest. How does that work? How is that intelligent? How is that not foolish, as opposed to
yeah.
one who was looking to support your interests? How is that? And you hear these idiots make these comments on a regular and consistent basis, cannot back up what they're saying,
Yeah.
cannot speak about any type of policy that is within their favor to support them, but yet they're calling you a fool. How does
And
that?
we got the California Flaming Super Cooner. You know, go Cooners, right? But this guy is still with the gender war, man. What's up
I
with
mean,
that? A 65-year-old guy worried about male loneliness. What is that?
it's it's insanity. Because at 65, if you're like myself, who has not only kids but a grandchild, some have many grandchildren, you're looking at their best interest with respect to education. They're trying to shut down the board of ed and these kind of things. You're looking at education, looking at people actually looking to develop and move forward with what's going on here. How do you do that? And these guys are coming after you. But these key issues here, also with healthcare and so forth, healthcare, education, um, n- no, no conscious towards that, but yet you're talking about some gender war. Black females somehow are 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 now your biggest problem, and black women are not in power. Who's in power? Who's shutting you down? Who's in power here? What are these
Yes.
guys talking about?
House,
MOT,
Senate, presidency, Supreme Court. How could you be complaining about black women at this point?
MOT. I have to go with what you say all the time. What's going on here? What's going
This
on
is
here?
what y'all fought for. And now that y'all in charge, you don't want to work with the people that you fought to put in charge.
They have nothing to say to them. They can't go to these people who they're supposed to support and work with them. Work with them how? These people here to shut you down, but yet you're talking about, well, vote blue no matter who. I mean, these people sound insane, schizoid, schizophrenia. I don't know what else to say, but they're so stupid that you really can't even you can't address this almost seriously. I don't even know how to seriously address this. You know, you know.
And Shonda, if you take away the blue areas that subsidize on top of what the feds actually give for Medicaid for nursing homes, if you took away those blue states that actually make it kind of profitable, it, that 65% would be 95%. It would be 95%. Most of those people go in these nursing homes, their families stay in their actual homes while they're in there, and then once they die, the nursing home come take the property away from the people. That process is going to be on a fast track
No, no,
because
no.
they're
This
not going
thing
to be able to afford to be in those nursing homes. So they're coming from them properties right away.
and this thing is designed to get you out of here. People who
Yes,
were
it
sitting
is.
in their homes who were supposed to go to these hospitals to get this are going to be getting cut back on those services. So guys like we're talking about here, the people who are voting against their own interest, I know I was talking to a brother the other day, says, please don't really mention that. But yes, you're going to end up dying prematurely. You won't make it to my age. You won't get to 65. You won't make it there if you're 40. It's not designed for you to do that. You will have
I mean, because the time to be productive
and
was,
kidney failure. Then you're going to have to get a transplant. Who's going to pay for that?
and
What's going
that's
to happen
expensive.
there?
There's going to be people all over the country on that list because of these circumstances.
What's
Wow.
going to happen there? You're a goner. You're done. But these people are voting and backing up these folks who are looking to take them out. And you're saying, I'm an old fool? You can't make this up. You
Yeah,
can't
man.
make
Like,
this up.
yeah, man. Like, you being informed and stuff, man. Sh- Straight foolishness, man. No, you got to come down here to the ignorance level of the game. So why you want to be informed and fix society, man? Yeah, man. Just have some of this trolling Keisha, man. No, the first hit is free, man.
Trolling Keisha. Oh, BA, you wrong for saying that, man. BA, you wrong. You wrong for that, man. BA, you wrong for that. Oh man. Woo. This is not a game. This is life and death. People like Shonda H and so forth who are nurses who work in who are waist deep, neck deep in this industry, know exactly what's going on. Um, this is pretty scary. This is pretty frightening. So when I see foolish, very foolish, stupid people making ridiculous comments, have no idea what they're talking about, and cannot express one policy that's going to benefit them whatsoever, till you're going against it, I don't know what to say to those guys. I don't know what to say to those type of people.
No. But they conservative though. They
Conservative.
conservative. Yeah, yeah.
Conservative.
All right. So I got a little update for people here. This week, as of yesterday, the United States Postal Service, Amazon, and UPS just now sent out their actual callings for extra help during the holidays. Yesterday, they did this. They normally do this in July. I called up many places. You can rent trailers from damn near everywhere. Normally, you can't even rent a trailer at this point in time because Amazon have rented out every single trailer in the country to actually go to their actual fleet to supplement the actual holiday season. Trust me, not a lot of stuff is getting shipped. A lot of these container places, they don't even have containers. No, they come straight off the ship, straight to the actual place where it goes. It's not even hanging around on the dock for 2 and 3 months on an as needed basis. It is going to get very scary in the next 18 months when it comes to the transportation industry. Not for me at my level, because there's a lot of money changing hands. There's tons of companies that are closing. There's tons of companies getting rid of their actual overhead, and I have to do a whole live stream on that so that way I can show people how there's nothing wrong with the transportation industry at all. They're just changing how they operate. But people already know this economy is about to go down, and it's going to be a runaway effect to where it's going to be losing a lot of jobs, right? Because you got to realize that making sure that this stuff works is the job of the actual government. But you just can't keep putting things in the way like tariffs and other type of things to slow things down. That bubble still haven't burst yet. They're trying to smooth it out to where it is going to slowly start to pop. But this stuff is going to be it is going to be wild what's going to go on in the next 18 months here. Yes, it is. Yep. Yep. I have a brother in law who lives in Norfolk, and he takes a picture of it every time he drives by the actual port. It's still a ghost town. Just as much of a ghost town as it was in March, it still looks like that. Yes, it does.
And let me tell you, people don't want to sit here and look at it, but the next series of employment numbers and so forth, they're going to be cooked. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to come up with. I don't know what they're going to come up with, but
No. They're not reporting them, and then they're reporting them late, and then they go back and revising them. And the media, since the media has been shut off at the moment, you know, yeah. So that's where we're at with that because the media is not doing any reporting because they want to keep their credibility high with the actual administration, behaving like state-run media, which is crazy. Oh yeah. Or even though there's traffic's down in the DMV, loving that, but I don't like the reason why it is down. T. Riddler. They're going to say they can't report the job numbers because of the shutdown. That's a really good excuse to keep the government closed. And remember, these are the personnel who actually want to, who think that the private sector should do everything. Like, nah, man, like you do need the government to do some things because the capitalists don't really care about factual information. They care about what matters to them and them only.
yes, that is precisely right. They're there for their interests, and we saw that literally, when The president was doing his whole swearing in ceremony. You saw there were the billionaires were standing behind him, and that's what this bill really is all about. And some people see it, many do not. But it's unfortunate, MOT, what you said. They're gonna have to feel it before they really know what's going on, and that's not going to be a good feeling, man. That's and it's going to do a lot of damage. It's not going
Okay,
to.
okay. Let's bring up a simple thing. If the Republicans have the majority in the House and the majority in the Senate, they're the ones who's keeping the government closed. If you have the majority in the House and the Senate and the government is not open, that's your fault as the ruling party. That's not hard to figure out. The thing is, they're trying to get people to sign off on these tax cuts so that way they can make it look like it's a bipartisan effort and not a one sided deal, which what it is actually.
Yeah, well, that's why a lot of people are getting upset with Schumer saying, don't cave, because you're going to be caving in on these tax cuts and going against a lot of people who support the Democrats because they're not so much playing that role. I don't know how that'll be played because you do have quite a few Democrats who are very corporate like him who are in those pockets as well.
Oh, yeah. So, what they're going to do is they're going to keep turn up the culture war with this actual immigration push and all this kind of stuff. And I just tell people straight up black people who talk about immigration right now and has never talked about immigration at any other time and period, they're not your allies. They're not your allies. They don't care about that. Because if you cared about it, you would do what my sister did. She went out and started her own staffing agency and started putting these black people into these actual jobs. And then she ran into a problem. Black people don't want these fucking jobs, and nor do whites.
No, they don't. And
Yeah.
and you've got some issues with food, as we know that their fruits right now as the weather changes and we're coming into the winter season. You've had a lot of stuff that's unpicked that died on the vine because you didn't have enough workers out there to take care of that. And what
And
I believe,
80% of the workforce is undocumented. But you wanted to go after undocumented people and take away the legal status of documented personnel to make them now undocumented. So when they check in, they just get thrown out the country. Again, all this stuff didn't need to be done. It's an attack on labor. Like people don't even understand that an attack on labor is an attack on everybody within the system itself.
and what people don't understand is when you attack labor and you want to remove those people and you're not going to bring them in, what they're trying to do is shift the game in such a way where they can bring others who are not supposed to be working there, like some of you poor whites and other blacks and so forth. Say now you get in the fields and do this, and you're the replacement for those people we're cutting, and they're gonna have a hard time really trying to really push that agenda on them. But that's the agenda they're gonna try to push. You poor whites and you Negroes and so forth, get in the fields. Since we've gotten rid of these people, this is the shift these guys are actually trying to shift people to make. And they're trying to turn the clocks back on a lot of folks. And whites are right at the center of it. And many of them don't really understand what they're really looking at and what the game these guys are truly trying to play. And from a labor perspective, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that's going to work very well. I don't think that's going to work very well.
Yeah, but if you go to the Taj Mahal, which is the Coliseum nowadays, so you hear something different.
Oh my God. Here we Go ahead. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh, oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
Oh,
man, but they got plenty of time to gender war, man. They got
yeah.
plenty of time to listen to Savvy Sav. Like, look, black women talk, black women wrong. Am I right?
That's what you. That's what you got, man. You,
Yeah,
you,
man.
you got that gender war, baby. You got
Yeah,
that.
man.
Yeah, you got that gender war, man. Yeah, you got that gender war in spades, brother. Yeah, man. That
That's right, man. Butt hurt blue, man. They
but her
want to
blue.
benefit from blue no matter who.
Oh my gosh.
You
Oh
know, the
my god.
retards Mahal. There's a there's an sometimes there's a solar shine version of the retards Mahal, but it's mostly a lunar shine show.
a lunar shine for sure.
Yes,
A pure lunar shine, man.
a
That
pure
shine is
lunar shine show.
and that lunar shine show. It's so bright. You have to take off. You might have to wear some sunglasses on that one. It's
I'm
crazy.
telling.
But then again, I was looking at one of our most esteemed kind of PhDs out there. Talking about when the gynocracy is allowed to falsely accuse you in family court. This is what these guys are talking about. This is what these
Sure,
guys are talking about.
sure.
All right, I got you. I got you. I got you.
I mean, but the plan was to make sure that there wasn't too much progress and to blame
Uh,
women for everything until they're not in power, and then when they're not in power, then they could just disappear with a thief in the night. They could put their hair hat, on the solar charging rack until the Democrats get back in power, so that way they can start complaining about black boys and all that kind of nonsense and stuff. Then again after that.
yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Keisha is out of a job. Over 100,000 Keisha's been fired and so forth. And this is a win for black men. Where's the uptick in black male employment? Where is that? Can anyone come up with those statistics and show me how that's working? All right. So you know, this is what we're dealing with. This is the craziness we're dealing with here.
The Church of the Latter Day Delta Novembers. Yeah, man, the
uh,
retards Mahal, man, where you can drink from the fountain of foolishness.
that's hilarious. The retard ball. That's great. Oh, oh man, they'll be coming back. You fool, you old fool. They're gonna be coming back freaking pissed because these fools have totally missed the boat. They're looking at what they can't defend. You can't defend your position. You can't defend it, fellas. You can't defend it. You're way out on that one. You blew it. You can't defend it.
I
This
mean,
is
but
indefensible. Go
the
ahead.
embarrassment isn't over. The humiliation has just started. It's like, okay, so you want to like a lot of these people for purely content sake, they want to jump in on this immigration piece, but black unemployment is going up because of all this stuff. Now, you would think that there would be black people just rushing into these jobs. That's not the case because you're dealing with the last hire, first fire bullshit that's going on with most of these corporations, trimming up the numbers. And then all these other jobs that people are not going into. So it is a lose lose for most people here, but they can ignore all that by just entering the actual, culture war and trying to make it look like these Latinos are over here stealing all of their jobs when they had access to these jobs the entire time.
It's a ridiculous notion. We know where most black people are employed and so forth. We know that a lot of people in the healthcare industry, construction, and so forth.
And definitely transportation.
And transport,
The
totally,
easiest way to get over six figures within a couple of years is transportation. Don't
for
let
sure.
nobody tell you differently.
PA, you ain't nothing but a shine bone. Yeah, that that's it. Yeah, you ain't nothing but a
Crying all the
shine bone.
time.
And you're crying all the time. You're talking crazy, but you're going to get people who are being shut down in the healthcare business and so forth. Now you're going to get them out in the fields to pick strawberries. Is that what you're talking about? That's what's going on for minimum wage. That's that's what you're going to be pushing people into. Okay, the Arkansas farmers and all that, they already see what's going on. They see what the deal is, what the dealio is.
But
So
at the end of the day, like a lot of people are insulated from these actual things that happen within the government because we get down to the wire. It's always down to the wire, and then like the Democrats cave and give them a whole bunch of tax cuts, and then everybody slap each other on the backs and everything works. But what happens when you do this stuff for 10 or 15 years? The level of neglect goes up, and the things that you're used to goes down while the actual capitalists don't want to actually invest in anything in the environment. You have to force their participation at every level. Otherwise, they're going to take all the money that they're saving for not paying taxes to actually make sure that these things don't get covered in the media at all. It's almost like they don't understand that the money that they're paying Tucker Carlson or all these right wingers, they could be paying towards the government for people's health care. But they don't have to do that. And now it's just a less for everybody else in the actual pot itself. Like they don't understand when conservatives are talking about socialism or communism, they're talking about everybody being treated equally under the law. They don't like that stuff. They don't want that stuff. They believe in a tiered system.
and
And
you have to
worshiping
look
capitalism is the way to get there for them.
and a large part of capitalism, a large part of it, of which people don't want to talk about, and which we will mention here, um, is based on exploitation.
Yes, it is.
So you have to exploit certain populations in which to profiteer off of them at higher rates. That's part of the mix. I don't want to get into the whole, dialectical, materialistic approach and all that kind of thing. That Karl Marx and all them spoke on, but that's a part of the game. That's a part of the game. When you started talking about Das Kapital and these things, these are the things that that they bring up. Not that any one of us here are great proponents of all of that, but we understand how that works and we understand capitalism as well. So
And
that's
you got to
part of
have money moving within the environment for it to actually work. And I mean movement from the actual upper to the actual lower class, because the upper class is going to get the money by the end of the day anyway. But if you don't want to, like most capitalists don't even care about free market enterprise. They care about restricted access to markets so that way they could be the sole people within that market. Like a lot of people don't understand how much damage capitalists do to the American system, period. I
yeah,
mean,
that's
they
part of it.
don't even look at private equity companies as wholly owned subsidiaries of capitalism, unregulated capitalism at that, that come in, buy up a company, sell all the, destroy the pensions and do all of this other stuff. Like a lot of people don't even see that that's part of capitalism. That shouldn't be happening. That happen with these solely so-called religious personnel who attach themselves to these things.
Well, this government shutdown is playing a key piece here. The Republicans are really trying to push this thing across, even to the detriment of many of their constituents.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, they don't care about those people.
of many of their constituents, and some of them even know this, and they're still pushing it. So looks like the Democrats are holding the line so far. So
Yep. And a lot of these companies, while we're on that topic, a lot of these companies took the EIDL, two PPP loans, and just straight up went out of business and took the money home. Nobody talked about that shit. And that's what Yellow Freight did. Like, they didn't go belly up. They just decided to close their doors and keep all the money that they took from the PPP loan and the EIDL and all that stuff. They just kept the money. And when it came time to pay that shit back, that's when they went out of business. That's when a lot of these trucking companies, these larger ones, went out of business. When it was time for them to pay that money back.
yeah,
Yep.
yes.
Which is actual fraud, by the way. But at the end of the day, when you're talking to the gender warrior people who, taking over the actual space itself, because most of these people had problems, unsolvable problems, before they came to this space. Yeah, it is. You wait right all the way until the moment to where you have to pay it back, and then you go out of business. That's exactly what they did. And these so-called, responsible personnel didn't even try to hold these people responsible when they did that shit. Didn't even try to hold them responsible when they did.
Wow.
Yep. So the government shutdown is about the tax cuts. They want even more tax cuts than that's already there. And it's a way of not legislating the tax cuts each year either. You could just wait to the debt ceiling conversation, and you could just write your whole tax plan at that point and just reinstitute it at that point. So that way you don't even have to worry about, the backlash of what you're doing. Like, oh, well, you know what? In order to keep the government open, then that's what we just had to do. Yeah. Crazy.
Insanity. And Shonda brings up a very good point as well. 150,000 federal workers took their deferred resignation buyout. They did.
Damn.
Which is
that's a lot.
Which is crazy. Which I'm actually thinking, to offer them buyouts. Is the government really legally able to do that? I mean, that's a whole nother question.
Yeah, they're going to rule it later on, and those people are going to get hired back once this administration is over with.
Yeah. So
even though JD Vance is talking this Trump third term nonsense, which ain't going to happen. But
no.
Yeah,
no. I mean, unless he's going to try to really coup the government, and we see now, especially with this ridiculous speech.
I mean, he is warming people up to the idea of Black Hawk helicopters coming in and people repelling from him at night for an immigration issue, even though this is pretty much a daytime police action operation type thing. It's just crazy, weird.
Yeah, I certainly don't see that working. I mean, there are those who feel that might, but then the administration now they're still talking about trimming more with the shutdown. I mean, trimming more with the shutdown. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh, well, lots of people are going to get fired if this go on any longer. Like, that's been your plan the entire time. Remember, you have enough votes to pass the shit without Democrats. That's the whole point of you controlling these chambers of Congress, both the House and the actual Senate. If you wanted to keep the government open, you could just pass a simple continuing resolution. But no, they want to pass a continuing resolution that's packed with a whole bunch of tax cuts and all this kind of other stuff. So that's just where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. But this is where we're at. This is exactly where we're at right now, and looks like the Democrats are going to hold the line so far. So this is going to be very interesting to see how this gets resolved. But the orange man in chief he just wasn't really well set for this job.
I'm just going to say one thing and one thing only. The government gets more expensive once privatized. It doesn't get less expensive once you involve for-profit institutions in it. During the Bush administration, when they were civilianizing whole parts of the military and turning that shit into actual contract work, that shit went through the roof. that those costs did not go down.
No, they
They
didn't.
went up.
Especially when you had Halliburton and what was the other company?
Well, Blackwater, that's what it was called.
Blackwater. Excuse me, yeah, Blackwater and all that. Yeah, and Halliburton
Whack
too.
and Hut, all that kind of other shit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they were all a part of that. That got super expensive.
Yeah, nobody seems to be talking about this patriotic education by Lyndon McMahon. All these culture warriors seems to be actually real quiet on that. I thought they cared about black boys, man.
No, no, Lynn McMahon's job she was the what do you call the the wrestler's the wrestler's wife. Um, you know, um, she was supposed to come in and destroy this system to shut it down. For black boys, this was supposed to disenfranchise them educationally.
Yes.
That is what her job actually is, and then give vouchers and all that to the um uh to these magnet schools or whatever, and which are going to go to the wealthier white communities and
Oh
leave
yeah.
your black communities and so forth as educational deserts that are going to sit there and serve no one. And black boys are going to be at the top of the execution list.
Yeah. At the most underserved, like people don't understand that, and for some reason they're not trying to understand it. And it's like, look, as much as this is not a black or white thing, this is going to affect whites a hell of a lot more than it's going to affect anybody else. Crazy talk. But go
Especially when
ahead,
it
Nick.
comes to education, certainly just not only in your in your regular kind of more urbanized and suburban communities, which some you will have some serious pockets there. But when you start to get out to the rural communities and so forth, for people who are for people to get education out there, it's going to decimate them. Decimate.
And look, the time to be productive was 5 years ago. The time to learn about this stuff was 5 years ago. This stuff right now is just on a repeat system that is just never going to be able to solve itself. It's going to take a whole erasing of this entire system and rebuilding it from the ground up. Because as long as you have profit margin and motive and capitalists in the middle of this, it's never going to work right. And it's never going to work right. That's a feature, not a bug. They don't want it working right. They want you to be on TV willing to sell out people or trying to pretend like the liberal idea, even though these people who live in liberal areas exclusively is not something that's attainable, but most of the functional areas in this country are indeed liberal.
Yeah, and it's benefited them the most. I look at some of the areas, even in New York, um, very racist. You know, um, trying to be exclusionary, but buddy, they protect their public school system, and they try to
Oh,
get
hell yeah.
they try to get as much money in there, and they want to make sure those public schools run like private ones. You know,
And most people don't
that's
even know like all this lottery money and shit goes to those private schools and shit.
that's it. That's exactly correct. Exactly correct.
People are like, oh, I don't pay taxes. Well, do you play the lottery? Yeah. That's taxation. That, that don't go to you. It goes to everybody else but you.
Yeah.
But that's what it is, man. So, Nagone, got anything else before we get up out of here?
Nope. MOT once again. Great show. Great for having me up. Appreciate it.
And look, man, you can talk about things of substance. You don't have to fight the gender war. The gender war is for loser class men who are the gynocratic management system of the gynocracy. It ain't the women. It's the ain't shit men who's having you focused on ain't shit women. Because they need you making dumbass decisions so that way you can keep this whole system going.
And they
So
are and they're on a losing path.
Yes, they are. Sucking state idiots. So, with that said, I want to thank you guys for coming through on the Man Tomorrow. There is no real reason to not get involved with the system, or at least learn about it, or at least get your stuff together and move to a better area. With that said, thank you so much for listening, and you guys have a really nice rest of y'all night. Peace.